Right, we are now joined by Jimmie Johnson, driver of the number 48 Lowe's Chevrolet. Jimmie, the round of 8 starts this week here at Martinsville. You lead full-time active drivers in wins here and at Texas, where you'll be heading to next week. With the pressure the chase brings, does it provide any sense of comfort knowing that you're heading into 2 races where your team has been very competitive?
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes the week leading into it a little bit more relaxed. But when you get here and the NASCAR timing and scoring starts, you're so focused on the present that you really can't carry much from it. We have a good notebook to pull from, but outside of that, I mean, you have to live in the now. You have to live in the present. The last couple trips here, we've been a decent car, but not a dominant car, so we're hopeful to get that turned around. And clearly winning here, Texas, winning in general makes life so much easier. Looking forward to the Homestead race, so it's definitely a goal, a priority for us, and we're going to go out there and get everything we can this weekend.
All right, we'll go ahead and open it up to questions. We'll start with Lee.
Lee Spencer, Motorsport.com. Hi.
There you are.
Can you just talk about your success here at Martinsville, and I'm guessing the kind of patience it takes to have the kind of completion rate that you have, to have as many times as you have finished on the lead lap or just completed races here during your tenure behind the wheel?
Yeah, I mean, there definitely is a rhythm to this racetrack. One for qualifying, another to put up a fast lap. Then you get into the race itself, and you have the short run and then the long run. And to manage all of those things is tough. It's a challenge that outside of the first 2 trips I came here, I've been able to hit on things and make work. I've told this story many times, but it literally took me being lapped by Tony Stewart to figure out how to drive this place. And once that happened, things took off and went far better for me. So there's just a certain rhythm to this place, and it's still Martinsville, even though we have different generations of cars and aero balances on the cars. It's still slow in the corner, which mechanical grip is king. And when you hit on something here, it usually lasts a long time because it's a track that requires mechanical grip and not aero grip. Yep.
All right, we'll go to Bob and then Kenny.
Bob Hawkers, ESPN. When you guys meet with Gordon this week, do you think that it's really will be his last Cup race? And when you talk to him, are you going to ask him about what made him good at Martinsville last year or his experience last week at the F1 race?
It's all about this week for me. I mean, I'll certainly catch up with him on the F1 experience, but with him being in the 88 car, being in the same shop, same equipment, Jeff has always been a resource, but here this weekend is even more of a resource for me than really any other time I've raced against him. The 24 left that shop we shared a few years back, and granted, the notebook's always there, but the way the cars are built are just different. And now we're virtually in identical cars, and so that's going to be a first time in a long time that we've had that situation. So I look at really pulling off of Jeff this weekend and using him to make my car better, to work on my techniques in the race car, and hopefully get the best performance out of myself this weekend. It's so hard to say. I mean, he's one heck of a sub to have sitting on the bench when you need it. So we'll see. I'm not sure he's ready to completely stop. I think he was ready to get off the merry-go-round of 39 races a year, but the full stop I don't think he's ready for.
All right, we'll go to Kenny and then all the way in the back to Mark.
Kenny Bruce from NASCAR.com. Jimmie, you mentioned you obviously had really good cars here, and you mentioned you've had decent cars here recently. Have you ever had a car that was not good at all here? And also, is Martinsville, if you have a car that's not fast off the truck, is a short track or Martinsville, is it harder to dial one in here than, say, at 1.5 miles, or is it easier here, or is there any difference?
The big challenge at Martinsville to dial yourself in, the tire wear is so high on Friday and Saturday because we don't run long enough to really put the rubber down. And of late, it's been kind of cool and crisp, and that also prevents the tire from laying down. This weekend should be good, though. Hopefully, at least by tomorrow in race practice, we can get some rubber down, have tire life going the right way, and be able to really adjust the cars for what we'll see in the race. With that in mind, yeah, we've had plenty of cars that I didn't like driving here, and especially on a green surface, but for whatever reason, when things rubber up, if it's me, the car, a little bit of both, we usually seem to find our way.
All right, we'll go to Mark and then Reed.
All the way back here. At Talladega, you have the worry about getting caught in a big one, not your fault, and you're just sucked into it. Do you worry about anything like that happening here where a couple of guys just get mad, start thrashing around, and you get caught up in it?
Yeah, I mean, you do a little bit. I'd say restarts are probably the biggest concern. Once you get rolling and get a couple laps, things, you can see it building, and we're fortunately going slow enough with really good brakes on the car that you can miss most things. I've had some trouble with the accordion effect. You know, on a restart, maybe first, second lap, something happens, people check up, and by the time it gets to you 5, 6, 7 cars back, it's like on the interstate, and you just plow into the guy in front of you and cause some damage then. So I think once we get moving and, you know, get to 3 to 5 laps into a run, it's much easier to control your destiny.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. Jimmie, now that you've made the round of 8, have you allowed yourself to think ahead to possibly the 7th title and adding your name to the list with Earnhardt and Petty?
Gosh, this chase is such a different feeling than chases I've won in the past. I mean, I still feel like I have this massive hurdle to get over to get into the Final Four. So with that in mind, I have not gone there. My chances are a lot better than they were 3 weeks ago, for sure. But, you know, this format just requires such a different mindset and a different way to make it to the Final Four to even have a shot at the championship. So not yet.
All right, we'll go to Jeff Gluck and then Dustin.
What advantages specifically would a win here give you for the championship? I mean, what will the winner of this race be able to take that the winner of the Texas race, the Phoenix race, won't have?
I guess just the obvious of the pressure being off. It's been a long year, and you can probably debate this point. Some depending on how the year has gone and the chase has gone, could use the pressure of the chase to clean things up and to keep pressure on pit stops and on the driver and on pit calls and all of that. But I'd say the majority, it's been a long year, and to be able to punch your ticket early, kind of charge the batteries, just focus solely on Homestead moving forward, I think most teams that'd be a pretty good advantage for them.
All right, we'll go to Dustin Long and then over here on the left.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. You just mentioned that you felt like this chase kind of had a different feel, and you talked about feeling like you had a massive hurdle to still get to Miami. I think at this point, most people are writing your name in pen for Miami based off your success. So can you please explain what you mean by this different feeling and why you feel like there's this massive hurdle when I think most people are just expect you to be in Miami?
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's a reason we run the race and a reason you got to play the game. I mean, stats are cool, but they don't mean that it's what's going to happen in the future. So, you know, when I look at, you know, that comment and the reason I made it, I mean, I think the best example for me is last year going to Dover with 27 points up, thinking I would easily transfer out of the 16 to the round of 12 and $5 part breaks. So, I mean, you just cannot take anything for granted. I'm sure they're great tracks. Sure, we expect to be competitive, but, you know, if you have a bad race in one of the 3 and you don't win, you're not going to make it. You need to have 3 clean ones or win, and, you know, 3 top 3s or 3 top 5s, and to advance on points, I believe. So it's no layup by any means. And the biggest thing, you know, the biggest reason why it's different, at this point, there would be 2 or 3 cars you had to worry about, and the chases that I've won and the way the format was. Now, I mean, there's 8 guys on the table, and then it goes down to 4 with equal points at Homestead. So you can't build a feeling or and I think even pick a favorite. I mean, it's impossible. It's fun to do. I mean, it creates conversation, but it's impossible to truly pick a favorite at this point.
All right, we'll go right here on the left and then back to Jonathan.
Charles Rourke, Star News. Of course, we got the announcement the lights are coming. How does that change driving here, and how do you feel about it?
You know, mile and a half's lights seem to be a bit of a problem, I think, from the quality of racing. You know, the temperatures go down, the preferred lane's on the bottom, and I'm not sure that it's the best for the type of racing our fans want to see. On a short track, especially here, I don't think that's going to make a big difference. I think it's going to be very cool to have it. Certainly opens up the window if we have any weather and we can get the race in and things like that. So glowing brake rotors, here we come.
All right, we'll go to Jonathan Merriman.
Jonathan Merriman, NASCAR.com. Jimmie, it's going to be 80 degrees here on Sunday. I can't remember the last time it was that hot. How does that, or that hot here, how does that change what the car does, and what should we expect when 40 of you guys get out there Sunday in 80-degree heat?
I really feel the biggest thing will be the black that we'll see on the racetrack. When it's cool, the rubber doesn't get hot enough, or maybe I guess the surface of the track isn't hot enough, so the hot rubber won't kind of smear into it. It just balls up, and the track stays very clean and light gray in color. And I think with the heat, we'll definitely see the right side tires laying rubber, the rubber sticking to the road and creating different lines. Under caution, I'm sure we'll pick it up, but once we get 20, 30 laps into a run, the drivers will have to change their lines. I think it will potentially bring the second lane in, and I think put on a better show. It won't be as easy to complete a lap around here, and you'll have to work a lot harder for it.
All right, we'll go to Tucker.
Tucker White, SpeedwayMedia.com. Now, Jimmie, your teammate Jeff Gordon once said that of all the tracks he had ever raced at in his career, and the racing at Martinsville was the one thing that had changed the least. Now, being that you're one of the elder statesmen of the sport, is this something that you would say is true in your experience?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Jeff's comments, and largely because your success here is created from mechanical grip and not aerodynamic grip or aero grip. So that's a big difference in the way the cars evolve over the course of a year. Your mechanical grip is it doesn't change a lot. So when you hit on something here, it lasts a long time.
All right, we'll go to Greg and then finish up with Barry.
Hey, Greg Engel, Cupscene.com. You talked about the fact that you're a big part of NASCAR history, and you have a good chance to add your name as part of NASCAR history. But beyond that, what does the history of NASCAR mean to you? How would you tell, what would you tell the fans about why it's important for them to understand the history of NASCAR? And was there a moment in your career early on where maybe you met someone, or you were at a famous venue or something like that, where you had an oh golly gee wow historical NASCAR moment, if that makes sense?
Yeah, for me, it was really a different journey. I grew up racing in the dirt, and all of my heroes were motocross guys, and then off-road legends, some IndyCar stuff, and there were off-road drivers that made it to IndyCar. I didn't know a lot about NASCAR. I went in the mid to late 80s with my dad to the Riverside Raceway and watched. I remember seeing Richard Petty's car go by. I remember my dad pointing out this car owner that would drive as well in a 25 Folgers car, and now I'm employed by him, which is wild. But I was so young and hanging on the fence and wandering around, and NASCAR wasn't on the West Coast often, so I was pretty detached. One of the first races I went and watched and was trying to talk to team owners was in Darlington, mid-90s, I guess, something like that. I couldn't believe what I saw. I'd been to plenty of IndyCar races, seen plenty of sports car races, but to see an oval and that oval and tight competition, visually I could see cars dead sideways in the corner. I thought, man, this is for me. This is really what I need to be doing, and fortunately things led that way. And with Chevrolet's help, kind of pushed me in that direction, and I was able to get my stock car career going. So I guess the trip to Darlington is what really sold me on wanting to be in these race cars.
All right, we'll finish up with Barry in the middle.
Barry Richmond, Piedmont Broadcasting, WAKG. Just sort of continuing on that theme of history of the track, history of the sport. You mentioned about the glowing brake rotors that we would see in night racing. Brakes much of a factor still here at Martinsville? And then one more question, cars number being reduced from 43 to 40 cars on the track. Do you see or perceive that difference on a short track, again, with that reduction this season?
No, I don't think the reduction's been noticeable. I think there are more quality cars on track, and it certainly changes the payout for the charter system. So it's good for the owners and good for the teams. So I think it's been a good change. Brakes still are a big part of your success here. I would say it's changed, and it's not so much from you're going to have a brake failure or blow a tire from overusing the brakes. I think sure that stuff can happen, but the chances of it are really low. But the more you use the brakes, the more you're overheating the front tires. So the more temperature that goes into the front tires, the more the tire inflates. The more abusive you are on the tires, and the car won't turn as well in the corners. So brakes still are a big part of what we do here, and it's still kind of the same, directionally the same thing. The less brake you use, the faster you're going to go, but it's due to preserving the tires and putting less heat and tire pressure in the tires than having a failure.
All right, thanks for joining us, Jimmie, and good luck this weekend.